it's time to go live with a client. We're laughing. So steady. It's been a minute since I've actually been live. I think I went live last week and I went live when I was in the Bahamas, but it's been a while. And it has been a while since we've done a case study. So I want to do a quick intro and then introduce my guests that are here with me today. What I want you to think about, because of what I've been hearing in the marketplace, is do you feel like there is an invisible ceiling that you can't seem to break through no matter how hard you try? You keep trying to get past $200,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $500,000 a year, $700,000 a year. And like, no matter how much you invest in more training, more support, no matter how many team members you bring on, you keep hovering around the same revenue year after year. If you have been chasing a business growth goal, and no matter what you've been trying, it's just been out of your reach, I want you to keep listening. And I'm so glad that you're here and that you're with us today. Because the truth is, for most of you, it's not in any of the things that you've been trying, which is why you keep hitting that ceiling. And we're going to talk about one of those things today. Your up level, you pushing past the current level that you're feeling stopped at, requires you to lead differently. It requires an expanded environment, oftentimes, something different, something new, different decisions, exposure to a different level of conversation, which is what people don't think about. And it requires you not only to lead differently, but lead yourself differently. One of the most powerful lessons that I've learned on my journey to millions is that the fastest way to accomplish bigger things is to be exposed to bigger through someone else, through community. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today as well. But first, quick introduction of myself. If you don't know me, I'm Shamika Tankerson. I help business owners and their companies accomplish their biggest income goals, the most impossible income goals. And impossible for me means anything that most people can't do or something you thought that you couldn't do before, something that's impossible. Everything is impossible until it's done. And that's the whole point of it. So today I am welcoming a client or two clients who are celebrating their biggest sales month ever. And I want to give you guys an opportunity. Let me get my pom pom because I'm like just washing over your celebration. It's their biggest sales month ever. They are our newest 20K Titans, which means they did over $20,000 in a single month. That dollar amount, I just wrote it down, $28,721. How does that feel?
Amazing.
Unreal.
I need to pinch me.
So if you guys could just take a moment and just introduce yourselves, tell people who you are, how you serve people in the world. We'll start from that space.
Sure.
Excellent.
I'm Calvin O'Seely.
And I'm Dr. Jenny Wallig, and we are the co-founders of Powerful Love Relationships and the creators of the Be the One method for empowering partners to improve their relationship, even if their significant other isn't doing the work alongside them. Mm-hmm. And our passion and mission in the world is to support everyone in having the most extraordinary relationship possible.
Yeah.
I love it. So I love this conversation because oftentimes people will say, well, you work with people who are helping people make money. So how does this work in other areas? I also love this conversation because there's two of you. You have your business partners and life partners. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well, about how that works. Let's talk a little bit about how we connected first and what kind of drew you to me and my community. I know that it's been since the beginning of the year that we've been working together. And so let's start there. How do we meet and what drew you to this community?
We met through a different coaching container.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we should name drop, but you're at like an extra special table. And of course, as like a powerful Black woman, it's just, you commanded attention. And like, there weren't a lot of people of color in the space. And so, of course, you stood out to me extra. But I think we even did breath work next to each other. But yeah, just it was through that container and some of those live events that your essence was brought into our orbit.
Well, and I will never forget, there was one night, it was at the like end of the the retreat celebration dinner,
dance, yeah.
You sat down at the table with us and we got to actually have a conversation with
Oh
you.
yeah, I remember that.
And you said something about how you get different mentors for different problems in your life.
Solutions.
And we went home talking about that. We're like, first of all,
like the hotel talking about the room.
We just got to have a conversation with like a millionaire. Did you know that? and so like created this picture in our mind, like, I want to be able to hire different mentors for different problems.
Yeah,
like, yes,
there's a problem, let's fix it.
Rocket of Desire, future us. So it was really inspirational, and and we connected there.
I love that. I want to talk about that a little bit because I think it's one of the reasons people get so stuck. There's a couple of things I hear from people who are stuck and stay stuck. One is, I'm in a program, and when I finish this program, then I'll move on to the next. Or I just completed a program and I'm going to do all the work that I got from that program, and then I'm going to like do the next thing. And I'm like, sounds great. How did that work out? Or how is it working out? Because I know that me and people like me, the top 6%, the top 2% of women business owners who have multi-million-dollar businesses, have multiple containers that we're in for different reasons, multiple mentors. When there's a problem we need to solve, we pull out the credit card and we check off those things, right? And so what did that conversation do for you? What were your thought processes aside from like, I want to be able to do that one day? How did it change you, or did it change you?
It did change us because I think it's what we came back to every time we chose to make the investment to better ourselves, as business owners, as marketers, as salespeople,
as coaches,
right? Like it was just like, this is the way. This actually shortcuts time. It saves us money to invest and like attack the problems, the areas of growth that we see now, rather than trying to do it as you're talking about in a linear or like more orderly fashion. It's like just you have to go with your gut when you see an issue, like break through it. Well, don't observe it.
And I think the other thing that was really important was that it showcased for us that even the top level successful people are getting mentorship.
They need help. Yeah.
That it's not like you get mentorship when you're started and then you figure it out. It's like, no, like actually the more you figure it out, the more mentorship you get.
Yeah. And I think for me, when I look at that, it's like the more mentorship I get and the more I'm looking for spaces for different reasons. So I'm in a space where like people will say this thing and it's there's some truth to it. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. But newsflash, somebody has to be the smartest person in the room, right? So there are going to be spaces where you are the smartest person or one of the smartest people in the room. And there's a reason for being there for that, because you can reach back and give back, and you can also grow, because sometimes when we grow to a certain point, we forget what it used to be like at a different level. So we're learning, it's a symbiotic relationship. And then you want to be in a space where you're not the smartest person in the room, where you're like, oh shoot, this is like crazy. I don't know. Like it doesn't feel great because you're like low man on the totem pole, right? I just remember crossing the $1 million mark, stepping into containers where people were doing $1 million a day. And I was like, holy crap. I'm like trying to figure this thing out. I'm at the bottom of this, right? But it feels good because you have something to aspire to and you're learning, right? And then there's the containers you want to be in where you're like the leader, right? So there's your space where you lead and guide. There's a space where you might be the smartest person in the room or one of the smartest people in the room. And then there's a space where you're not. And so some of those other spaces I have because those are to be seen and possibly have clients that need my support, because I know multiple mentorship is required. So there's different reasons why you want to be there, and most people miss that. and they're either not getting mentorship or coaching or guidance at all because they figure they have to figure the things out, or they keep jumping containers because they're trying not to be the smartest person in the room. Sometimes your ego needs you to be the smartest person in the room so you don't forget what you've built, right?
Mhm.
I want to talk about one of the things I posted when I talked about your journey, because I've known you guys for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched your journey inside of the other container that we were in together, and you hired me at the beginning of this year. So, and I've watched that journey, and I've been all in on this journey because I believe in you so much and what you do and how you do what you do, and who you are. And so, I'm, I'm, I'm in there with you. But what people believe is like once you make the investment, like, okay, they look at somebody like me who's like, I'll show you how to accomplish your most impossible income goals. And they're like, I'm going to hire you. And they pay the money and they're like, okay, my business should be transformed tomorrow. And what is not realized is a couple of things. One, there's work you have to do, and not the work that we think of, like just running around and posting and doing all the things and checking the boxes. It's the internal work to have the capacity. So I want to talk about capacity really quickly, and I want to talk about the dichotomy of business. So capacity for me, there's two levels of capacity. There's leadership capacity, which is how you lead yourself and therefore how you lead others. And then there's also the receiving capacity. And most people only think it's the receiving capacity. Like, I'm ready for $1 million clients and I'm ready for my $1 million year and I should be good to go because I worked on all the things. And that's not it, right? Mm-hmm. Leadership capacity is not just about how you wag your finger and how much you know, but your capacity to hold yourself when things don't go quite as planned. The capacity to hold yourself when the people on your team are more interested or they take for granted you and the paycheck that you give them. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you do when that happens? The way that you feel or how you show up or what is your emotional intelligence when you are doing all the things that you're supposed to and you still don't have the result while watching other people celebrate the result. Mm-hmm. And that is being able to hold this dichotomy in business. There will be ups and downs. Like, people think success is linear. They even think that once you have the big win, that it's just going to keep going up and up and up. And it's not even just about your capacity to lead yourself through those things. What that leadership capacity is showing you is not just your ability to obtain it. We celebrate we have an award for a $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, 6 figures in any amount of time, and a 6-figure a month. Those are the 3 things or the 4 things that we celebrate. Because I want people to understand that if you can do it once, you can do it again. But it doesn't mean that because you do it the first time, it's going to continue happening. And it doesn't mean that once you invest in a program, it's going to happen. So how do you hold this excitement and knowing that you're on this journey to creating this incredible business and you're doing all the things and checking all the boxes and attending all the classes and showing up for all the calls and crickets?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that journey for you.
Well, it wasn't a very easy one all the time.
No,
that's for sure. It really tested us as people, tested our relationship. But I think one good thing about the two of us is that we are stubborn and persistent, and we also have a deep knowing that it can't stay this way forever, right? Mm-hmm. It's like whacking around in a diamond mine. Like, eventually we're going to find some. And we have found some. Yeah. And so I think for us, it's really just the commitment to ourselves, the knowing that we're going to be successful and that we just need to continue to water our ground because something's going to sprout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I'll add that we do a lot of intentional mindset work.
Yes.
To stay in like alignment with that knowing, and to manage our energetic state. So between meditation and affirmations and visualizations, we're also like reading the books that Shamika recommended that we read, and the community piece is big too. And I think because even though we're for a really long time, we went for like 3-4 months over the summer with almost no new sales, and being in the community. How do I want to say this? Yes, we could look at other people and compare ourselves and say, like, that's like, why isn't it happening for me?
Yeah, I get really bummed out.
Except that one thing I really appreciate about your containers in particular, Shamika, is that you're really clear that, like, that's a choice we could make, but we can also make the choice of seeing everybody else's successes as evidence for ourselves. And because that's the culture of the container, that like becomes part of the programming we're operating in. And we borrow belief, right? We borrow belief from you. We borrow belief from the other people we're connecting with in these containers. And there's some courage that comes into that, into trusting in the possibilities when you're not seeing it yet.
Yes, for sure.
But we're in a container that talks about courage, and that advocates for courage and reminds us of the need for courage. And so we keep doing it, and we keep using our resources and doing the things that we know are going to keep us in the energy space that's going to allow our success to happen.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing for me to watch, but I'm also on pins and needles because I know the journey, right? I know that what it looks like on the outside isn't actually what's happening energetically behind the scenes. Like, we have the story we tell about the decimal point, right? There's so many billions of numbers that happen behind the decimal point, and the movement is happening before you get to the one. But once you get an integer, right? Like, oh, well, let me stop being a nerd. Once you get a number, I'm a nerd, guys.
Hey, we're smart enough to
I'm a
follow.
cool nerd. Once you get a number right in front of the decimal, then the duplication of that is rapid, and it just happens. So I am always watching the decimals. Like, I can see the energetics. I know the people who are in it to win it, and it's not like they're just faking and going through the motions. I can tell when there's just like, I'm checking the boxes, and I'm really holding myself, leading myself, showing up in a certain way, and doing the work at the same time. So the internal work, the external work, the strategic work, the energetic work, not just mindset work and listening to audios. And there's a whole mixture of things that has to happen. It's how you lead yourself through those moments. I'm like, it's going to come. And I remember saying, there's a portal that just opened. And it was like, everybody in the community was just like, pow, 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 pow. And I was like, this is amazing to watch.
It was contagious.
You're all contributing to the same thing together. Like, I love watching you celebrate $10 sales as much as you celebrate a $15,000 sale or a $20,000 sale. It's amazing. And so what does something like that, like being in a space that allows you to not feel, and I don't want to put a word on this for you, but I'm just going to say this is probably where most people are, to not feel embarrassed. Like you just talked about, you had a couple of months where there weren't any sales. What does having a space like that, how does it support you? Or does it support you?
I mean, I would say that it supported us, and it's not to say that those feelings of like shame and embarrassment didn't come up, because they totally did, and there were parts of me that wanted to not show up to the community and to the container. I think what the container did, right, the community did, is like inspired that courage to show up anyway, to celebrate other people's success, to know that like this is just temporary. Like tomorrow could be a totally different thing. Next week, something totally out of the blue could be happening, and it's a different conversation. And we just need to continue to stay the course. And when you're surrounded with other people with that same mindset, and with that accountability and just loving encouragement, really, it makes it easier to continue to take those courageous steps within yourself, right? Towards the things that don't feel good, but can feel better if you just shake some of that crap loose in your head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Were you going to say something, Jenny?
Yeah.
I'll just say, like, I think the community has been really helpful in the fact that everybody's being courageous, right? That, like, we're like, maybe not everybody's having the same kind of dry spell that we were having, but when people are struggling, we're hearing about their struggles and their fears and their insecurities and their stuckness. And I thought I was doing great, and now nothing, now crickets. And so it's like this mirror, right? Where we get to see parts of ourselves in other people that let us know that we're not alone. And that too gives us the courage to share more of ourselves. I remember at one point when I was feeling really like not good enough to be in this container with these really successful, what the story in my head, right? Like, everybody's succeeding, everybody's a millionaire except for us. So I wrote a little post that was like my encouragement to myself. Like, it was like an I belong here post. And I shared it, and other people commented like, hey, thanks, I needed this reminder, or I totally get that. And so by again borrowing courage from others, seeing that others are struggling, maybe not in the same way, I could be courageous enough to share my struggles, which then contributed to the well-being and the inspiration of others in the community, which for me is like, oh yeah, I can give gifts by sharing the reality of the parts that feel shame or embarrassment.
Yeah. I'm curious about something. You've heard me say this before, been quoted as saying results don't take time, they take courage.
Yep.
And I really believe that. I believe leaning into courage is how you're going to make the most money possible. So this whole thing is titled How to Accomplish Your Biggest Month Ever. Yeah, I can math it all out for you. I can be like, charge this much and go get 5 people. And some people will do it and some people won't. Actually, let me say this. Some people will do it and most people won't. And I believe the difference between the ones who do and the ones who don't is this line of courage. And the line of courage that you need to follow, it's not the same for everyone. It's not this brute, like, I'm going to go jump out of an airplane courage. Sometimes it's the smallest thing that you don't even think. And so what I would love to hear from you, because I talk about this all the time, and I've had people show up in my containers and they'll be like, or in like my free things, and they'll ask questions. They're like, well, I know that I don't have this internal dialogue mindset stuff going on. I just need to know the strategy to get to X, Y, Z. And I just smile and nod. And I want to hear from you guys. I don't know, maybe not the mixture of like strategy to courage, but like what do you lean on? And how does that work? As we've been working together, we talked about it. You guys started in January. It's October. You've had a huge breakthrough month. You sold some of your biggest packages ever. And if you want to tell that story, you can, because we didn't really talk about where you started from to where you are now. And I feel like the more layers people have to peel off, sometimes it takes time. It's that decimal point in the back, right? You're still going faster than ever. I liken it to the Flash, right? When the Flash is going his fastest, everything around him looks like it's moving slow. And that's the story that I always tell. So we'd love to hear from you in this journey, what that has been like. How much stock have you put in strategy? Has the strategy been there? I'll stop talking.
Yeah, I think the strategy for me is helpful to have. Like I'm really well schooled.
Yes, she is.
I'm a great student. So
valedictorian at every level.
In every program, in every class.
Yes. So when I have a teacher who's telling me what to do, I'm like, yes, now I know what to do and I can do it and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I'm going to, and so that's helpful energetically because now I have like some direction and something to play with.
Yeah. Not just energetic, action wise too.
Yes.
Right? Like it makes it really clear to take quick action, like meaningful action.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. And I think the courage has been more of the work. Like the courage to not be perfect and just put something out there. Right? The courage to say things more than once and risk annoying people, the courage to show up vulnerably, the courage to invite people into a sales call, the courage to lead a sales call more powerfully, like the courage to keep going even when it feels like nothing's working. And in our relationship, there's even been this need for courage of, like, for me anyways, I'll speak for myself, of trusting his process, right? Like that he gets to be different from me. He gets to do it differently. He gets to show up differently. He gets to work through things differently because I want to, like, make sure everything is working and,
We're different.
that's all my stuff.
Very different.
But that's taking courage too, to relax, to take some courage to relax and lean back and trust and allow us to be us and our business to unfold the way that it does, and to just keep showing up every day. If it weren't for courage, we would have quit, even if we had all the best strategies in the world, because they don't always work right away. And there's some finessing and there's some learning and there's some
personal growth.
Right. There's some, like, becoming within our own selves that has to happen. And we know has to happen in order for the strategies to even work. And that takes courage.
And commitment.
I love that you brought up the fact that you are both different, because I remember there was one point in time in mentoring you where I was like, here's what I need. And I don't know how you're going to take this, but I need to separate you guys because you're different. And so I think I specifically spoke to you, Jenny, and I'm like, I need you not to want to make Cal do things the way that you do them because you're not the same.
You will fail every time. I'm not you. Yes.
And then you feel like you're failing because you're trying to be me and you're not.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work for anybody.
And that's been kind of beautiful to watch. You show up like you and you show up like you. And I believe that's when the decimals started moving faster, is when each person was allowed, you had the courage to just, like, I'm just going to do this my way. Right. And it's kind of fun for me to watch because you're both gunning for the same goals, but it's such a different thing to watch. Even watching your social media pages, I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. It looks that way. In the beginning, it was like, Jenny, you do a thing and then you, like, share it to Cal's page. Like, it was like, you need to be doing what I'm doing, or, like, tagging me. I'm like, yeah, you guys have two different personalities. Like, you have two different makeups. You have two different designs. You're like, there's a different flow, feel energetically to each one of them for you both to be magnetic to the people you both are meant to serve. And that's been beautiful watching. How has that journey of being partners in business and partners in life been, being in the same container, but knowing that you're so very different from each other?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you go first.
Ladies first.
It's been really good. I think that we call being parents, entrepreneurs, and like in relationship with one another, doing all three of those together, like the trifecta of growth and
of maximal human experience.
Yes, that's it. And so it's been really nice, I think, for all three of those aspects of our life, because even though we're well aware and we teach the acceptance of differences, making space for differences.
Yeah.
Every application of that challenges us to take it deeper, to integrate it and embody it even more. And so in within the container, having your reflection of that pattern showing up, that like tendency of my trying to like get him to be like me, was super helpful because I could recognize it and recognize that it wasn't working. And also now I had this almost, and I know I don't necessarily need it, but it was helpful for me, like this reassurance that in fact that was what was going to be helpful, right? This permission to like relax and take a step back, and someone else saying, you know, like Cal gets to be who he is, and he's fine that way, and it doesn't have to be this programming I have about what it means to be successful an entrepreneur, right? Like having to like go and overwork and overproduce. And if we're not making money, that means we have to work harder and more. And right, like you were able to reflect back to me my own self and help me slow down and not only give Cal permission to be more of who he was, but think about who I wanted to be in this relationship, in this business, and in the world. So it's been really helpful kind of on all fronts.
I agree. Yeah. It's been, it's always helpful to get, well, I won't say that. It's not always helpful to get outside perspective.
It depends on the perspective.
It totally depends. It totally.
Who's giving it to you?
That's why I walked that back, because like, no, actually. But getting a perspective from you was really helpful because, again, yeah, you highlighted and provided awareness towards something that we weren't necessarily aware of. Like, I maybe felt that, but I didn't identify that. I didn't put words to it. I didn't name that for myself in our dynamic. But yeah, it made a lot of peace. I want, maybe peace isn't the right word, but like it smoothed things out and helped us, I think, even more so identify and stay in our lane, but in like an effective way.
Can I tell a cute little story about this?
Oh gosh.
Real quick. I don't know.
Go ahead. I'm scared.
No, you don't have to be scared. The other day, Cal was tired and he didn't feel like working. And one of the things that you had reflected to us because of our human design was that Cal may need to rest more, and that in resting, that's his productivity. I'm not very good at resting and relaxing, so I'm working on it. Yep. So like, historically, that would have activated some stuff in me. Like, oh, I got so much stuff to do and now it's going to fall all on me. And like, why can't you work? And blah, blah, blah. And so he named that. And I was like, okay, well then go rest. And he's like, yeah, but there's so much to do. And I'm like, yeah, but Shamika says that's okay. And he's like, yeah, but I'm afraid that you're going to be upset if I rest. And I was like, no, because now I have it in my head that that's actually you being productive.
Yeah.
So
new belief,
right? Like, so that programming still got operated within you. But I was aware, like, no, I don't want that programming anymore. That's not how we want to be in business, how I want to be in relationship. And so I was able to support Cal in doing what he needed to do, being his person, doing business the way he needed to, which was like to rest so he could have the energy to do and be in alignment and resonance and not be worried about that. And that is peace. That's like a freedom of energy and greater ease between us.
So smooth. Yeah.
So it's been a real gift.
I love that. I have a couple of more questions and then we'll wrap up. This has been a really good conversation. When you look at the philosophy or the unique approaches to the way that we mentor businesses inside of our programs, how would you describe those unique approaches or philosophies, and how did it resonate with you?
I would say what I appreciate about it, or how I would sum it up, is there's no fluff. It's just like real. It's authentic. It's no BS.
very accountable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of accountability.
Yeah. And I think that it's that directness that really, I think, helps to transform at least us.
Mhm. Like I get
Yeah, yeah, it's like nowhere to hide and everything's okay.
Mhm.
And it's just like, how do you take the next step? How do you just keep going? How do you show up courageously? And
How do you lead yourself?
and for you, Shamika, how can I get you unstuck? Like, how can we retool? How can we refine what's happening so that you get out of your own way and keep going?
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, the first word that comes to my mind is love, and I know that sounds really cheesy,
So
but like
we love love.
I mean, we do love. But I feel the love in the containers, right? Like I think it's just part of the way that you lead yourself and the way that you lead the communities and your clients. There is like the direct no bullshit part, but there's also like, and I'm doing this from a place of love because I really believe in you and I really want to help you succeed.
Man.
There's a beautiful balance of like modeling what's possible, who to be, how to hold yourself in business, from a place of integrity, from a place of sovereignty, from a place of like energetics alongside strategy,
Right.
and um and like the beingness in the energy of like safety and genuine care really makes it work for us. It feels, like you talk about unlocking people, like that you have like the skill of unlocking people, and we feel that, right? Because we're not just getting strategy, we're not just getting coaching, mentorship. There's something about the energetics that come along with the philosophy, that come along with the like foundations of which everything that we're given and taught is rooted in, that takes us into deeper places within ourselves, and creates shifts like that are really amazing. And so I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but that's
It's
how
perfect.
that's how I experience
I
the
love it.
container.
It made me giggle a little bit that you said there's a high level of accountability. So I just want everybody to understand I am not like today, tell me what you did, XYZ.
Yeah.
That accountability is internal and it's
Yes.
created by the community. And I created it. I was intentional about what I wanted my community to be like. I want people, not just people who lead themselves, because you can lead yourself and still be detached from community, but because you're so connected to everyone there, there's no way that you're not going to do your part. Like there's no way. And so it's very intentional about creating community around that. And over the years, it's just taking on a life of its own. And it's so beautiful for me to watch because then people come in and they are like, if you don't show up to a call, you're going to get some messages. You can't just hide. No one's letting, and I don't have to say, hey, sometimes I will say it, but I'll be like, where are your friends at? Check on your friends, right? But I may not say that, and it doesn't even matter. Somebody's already reached out, like, hey, you're not here. I miss your face. Like people notice when you're not there. And it's because they don't want anybody to let them hide or falter when they're having a moment, that they stand in the gap for other people in those moments. And that makes my heart so happy.
It really is. It really is.
It's an effective model.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Like
For sure.
that's what everybody wants from community. And
Yeah.
and we've been in other community spaces before where that's not what
it's not the felt experience,
right? Like, we're all in the same Facebook group together maybe, but there's not those connections, those bonds, that care, and accountability. And so it's a really sweet place to be.
Okay. I have a question that I want you to think about while I make an offer.
Okay.
So the question I want you to think about is, what would you say to someone who, similar to you, similar situation from when you started, that is like stuck, maybe hovering around the same income level, maybe trying to figure out the right strategy to work, who may possibly be on the fence right now. We're at the end of the year as we're recording this, looking for support, looking for who they should support, maybe looking for a community to belong to, maybe looking at even working with me in my program. What would you say to them? So I'm going to let you think about that. And I'm just going to do a quick invitation to everybody watching. I talk about this shift that happens with clients that's noticeable when clients go from their 6-figure years to their 6-figure months, or they go from trying to figure out how to grow their business to having their first, $30,000 a month, $20,000 a month, $10,000 a month. There is a shift that happens. It's an internal shift. It's noticeable. It's palpable. You can see it in the difference in how they show up on pictures and imagery. And it's happened with every single client that I've helped to do this. It is an energetic shift. And so what I believe is that it's not just strategy. There's an identity shift that must happen. In order for you to hold millions, you must become the person who can hold millions, right? So there's an identity shift that has to happen. And so I have a intensive that I'm going to be teaching November 16th. I want to take you behind the scenes of $1 million business and show you what actually comes all together to help it to work or to make it work, but not in a complicated way. I'm all about the most simple business model that you can create and the most profitable business model that you can create. I want you to be able to take a break and Netflix and chill and do all the things while still having an impact in people's lives. And so we're going to do a 3-hour intensive that's going to break down the identity, the business model and content strategies, and also the wealth activation and money stuff, the energetics around money that needs to be upgraded in order for you to have the capacity to receive more and more and to really create $1 million business. And here's the thing, my philosophy is that $1 million isn't the vantage point. It's not the ceiling. It's not the place we're trying to get to. It is the minimum. And in order for you to be able to create millions, you must change your vantage point right now. And that's what we're going to be talking about during this course. I decided to do it it's a 3-hour intensive. Today is the last day to get it for $55. The price goes up tomorrow. All you have to do is drop a fire emoji in the comments. I will make sure that you get the link so that you can join us for that course. There is an optional VIP upgrade that gives you 30 days of support, 30 days of connection, prompts, money-making challenges, the ability to ask questions so that you can hit your Q4 goals and create momentum into the new year. So not only am I going to give you the strategy and the mindset behind creating bigger revenue months and sales in your business and building that framework or that foundation for the $1 million business, but I'm going to work with you for 30 days to get you there. So you purchase for $55 today, you'll get a page that shows you how to upgrade to the VIP if you want the additional 30 days as well. Tomorrow, the price goes up to $100 and it will continue to raise until we get to November 16th. So that's my invitation to you. Back to you guys with the question that I asked you, which is, what would you say to somebody similar position to you that is trying to make a decision about what they need for their next level of growth?
I would say staying stuck is cost you money. Staying in the same place, staying with status quo, it's costing you mentally, emotionally, maybe even financially. And so taking steps to invest in yourself, to become who you need to be, to improve your business, to improve yourself, like it more than pays for itself. Like I don't know how else to inspire people, but staying stuck it's the same scenery.
Mm-hmm.
So taking action towards something that leads you towards the direction you want to go, like why not? And why not do it as soon as possible?
Yeah. To that, I would add, if you're feeling the pull, like if there's some part of you that's just like feeling like pulled, like maybe maybe I want to follow that,
Yeah.
even if it terrifies you, even if you have no idea.
Especially if it
Yeah,
does.
right.
Yeah.
Even if you have no idea if it's going to work, and you're afraid it could just be a waste of time and money and energy, and like it's. Shamika, I think you once said something like I'm not your guru. Like I'm not, essentially the message was like, I'm not here to save you or to fix things for you.
Mhm.
You you are a mentor and are wonderful at unlocking things. And to those who may be struggling with the question of like, is this going to work? Am I going to get anything like what I need out of it? You get to decide.
Mhm.
Decide that you will, and know that Shamika and her containers, if that's what you're considering for your support, are going to give you everything you need. That when coupled with your own decision and determination to go through the process, to do the work, there's no way you're not going to. There's no way you're not going to.
Thanks
So
for that.
lean into it.
I think of a couple of things as I'm listening to you both talk, and one is, yeah, I'm not your savior. So it's not like sprinkle money on Shamika and all magically, it's like Lucky Charms, magically delicious. We do have to do work, but I'm there with you, sleeves rolled up, side by side, every step of the way.
Mhm.
I also know that my clients, they don't need me, right? You guys are brilliant. I'm here to unlock what's already there.
Mhm.
If you're looking for me to have something you don't have, it's not possible. If you see something inside of me, it's because it's inside of you, right? You choose to walk me. You choose to allow me to lead you, but the leading isn't me walking in front and you walking behind me while I'm dragging you along. It's side by side, shoulder to shoulder, giant to giant. Let's do this thing, and that's how we do it.
Mhm.
Um, I am clear that lots of people show up in my world who have invested in lots of programs and still haven't been able to figure it out. And I was having this conversation with a couple of clients yesterday because I'm like, guys, help me understand how this happens. How'd you get here? And one of the things that I realize is there is a fear that I'm going to invest one more time. And if so and so holy guru that I put up here on this pedestal wasn't able to help me and they're on, this person's stage and that person's stage, like what's going to make this time different? And the reality of it is when the power is given back to you,
Yes.
that's what actually is really necessary. When you're
Yeah.
able to trust yourself again, because somebody doesn't need you to depend on them. Like I don't need you to be broken in order for me to show up in the world and live my purpose. I don't want you to be broken. And as a matter of fact, you are not broken. that's the thing, and that's the difference. And so if you would be courageous enough to go one more time,
Mhm.
it's the courage conversation again, right?
Mhm.
It's like one more time, slightly different. Like you said, Jenny, if you feel it, like that's the thing. It's like follow the knowing and trust yourself. Get that
Yeah.
you've been with yourself all this time and you've invested. I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, I have gone through almost my entire inheritance that was left for me. And I was like, ugh, because I've heard that story before too. And now like conversation, like fingers are held tight. I'm like, if you would just trust yourself, right? One more time.
Mhm.
And it's going to require you to do that again and again. And I don't care if it's with me. If you get the feeling and it's like, you know what, I'm willing to trust myself and then meet yourself, lead yourself at the level of that trust. It's not invest in this program should solve everything. That's no one's program is that ever going to be.
Yeah.
I read a post this morning where someone was asking who's at $500,000, who's invested in a program and then left, and what was the reason why you left. And I thought to myself, if they're making that much money or more, they don't look at investments like that. So I'm
Mhm.
like, that conversation has to be coming from somebody who's not at $500,000, because if you're there, you understand that when you make investment, first of all, you're sovereign and you lead yourself. You're only going to lead, you're going to invest in what you believe in. And even if
Mhm.
the investment wasn't quite what you thought, you're going to get something out of it. I'm going to get a return on investment. Right?
Mhm.
There is no money that I'm given that is just lost, right?
Exactly.
It's a total, the conversation isn't right for that level of person who would even invest at that level because you don't look at it that way. Remember what I said. If you want to run a multi-million-dollar business, you want to get your company to the point where it is doing six figures every single month, there's a few things you need to do. I'm just going to lead with this one. And if you want to know more of what some of those things are, it might hurt a little bit when you hear me talk about it because you're going to see yourself mirrored in it. I'm going to go through those during the behind the scenes intensive that we're going to do on November 16th, because I'm going to talk about my own journey and some of the things layers I had to peel off and what I've seen as I've transferred that learning to other clients. But one of the biggest things is to trust yourself. If you've been trying to hit a financial goal or grow your business, you have a growth goal in your business and you haven't been able to hit it, you've been with yourself every single time that you haven't. And there's a memory in your cellular memory about that. There needs to be some massaging so that you can understand that, yes, there's a learning there. It's a learning of what not to do, but that you are still trustworthy for you. And you don't have to give your power away to anybody like me to make you feel significant enough to accomplish that goal. I am not your guru, as Tony Robbins said in his Netflix series. I am not the answer. You are. My job is to shine a light on that. Is there anything else you guys want to share before we wrap?
Just thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm super proud of you guys. And so I didn't realize, I thought we were like at 2023. I didn't realize like you were super close to a $30,000 a month. And that is absolutely freaking amazing.
I know, right?
Love it. I love it. So I want to just take a moment, if you're still with us and watching us live or watching this recording, if you could just take a moment and drop some love in the chat for Cal and Jenny, it's Dr. Jenny. Let's give her the respect that's due. I want to celebrate both of you for what you have been able to accomplish and the work that you've put in. So congratulations. You are Titans, and we're going to be celebrating you at this Game On Live that's coming up. Yay!
We receive it.
I can't wait for the next level and the next level and the next level. Thank you so much for being willing to tell your story. Thank you guys so much for being here with us today. We will see you next time we go live. And that's a wrap.